Yeah, definitely. Like, I think this is a very interesting matchup. Tailbot definitely has a lot of to fear when it comes to Koloman's lineup, because the fact that he was forced to ban monsters, which in a lot of these encounters tends to be one of the less powerful decks, is definitely an issue. But that's the power of Arrakis Queen. That is the power of consume monsters. As if you do not have the proper techs against it, it can be overly devastating, as its proactive potential is just so high. And here we go, ladies and gentlemen, round one, game number one. And, well, it's not round one. It is the semifinals, Tailbot versus Koloman, and we have Dagon versus Alchemy Novgorod.
Maybe a little bit of a curveball here. I mean, Koloman perhaps can take his time because he is in the red seat. He will get a chance to play Henselt no matter what happens here if he wants to play it in the third round of this series. So he's leading off with Calvet, where we've seen the red coin lead off. Has been very frequently Henselt when Henselt has been available. Very popular ban this weekend. But in this situation, going up a win right away in a best of 5 can be very important. So sometimes the red coin picks Henselt as Tailbot goes for the open pass immediately, putting the ball into Koloman's court here for Alchemy. How important is it to open pass against Alchemy in this situation?
It's definitely the way to go, especially if you're playing Dagon Death Wish. Alchemy Novgorod is an archetype that really relies on playing out his cards. Other archetypes, that revolve around weather can afford to actually just reply with a dry pass of their own, but they have to play in. So it's a very safe approach. Alchemy is extremely powerful when going second, as it does not have a lot of snowball potential, but it does have a lot of ways to deny engines, and it does have very solid, consistent output when it comes to its strength plays. Alchemy Novgorod does have to thin through the Magam Ills. It does have to play John Calvate, especially if you are running Kahir, which we do see Koloman is running as well. So it's going to be very interesting to see just how Tailbot, because now Tailbot is basically on a mission to make sure that Koloman cannot get that card back. As we have a very clear mulligan there for Koloman, looking at Roach in his hand. He also has Mardrim over there in Black Blood. A little bit of an awkward set of cards right there, especially considering Mandrake. Can't be utilized to counter.
Tailbot forced to mulligan either the Monster's Nest or the Mandrake, or else risk a Wispus Tribute that couldn't be played this round. Unfortunately, that involved him mulliganing into the Foglet. It's been kind of a bit of a bane of the players over the last weekend, mulliganing into cards that definitely you want to pull out of the deck as opposed to playing them from hand. We saw it with the Dun Banners. We've seen it with Foglets already. This will hurt a little bit of the power of Tailbot in this long round, but the real value comes from the weather. It's possible that it'll just end up being a mulligan later on. But it's ultimately more important to make sure that your Wispus Tribute is a power play if necessary here, as Tailbot now has to win this. He wants to avoid any sort of really tough situation here. Both of these players can play a long round. Most decks can at the tournament level. So it's really going to be about Tailbot. He will be developing weather, likely, just to make sure that this round, the longer it goes, the more favorable it is for him. Archospores will also help in this fashion.
As you said, Foglets do weaken Tailbot's round overall, but if you look at Koloman's hand, he has Roach as well. So both players have a brick in their respective hands, which is definitely going to affect their mentality towards how far they are willing to push. And Koloman is obviously in the driving seat here, as he did win round one. So that Roach can really hinder his ability to push as deep as he may want to, and it also takes tempo from the initial Stefan Skellen play. There's a big difference between a 10-point Stefan Skellen and a 14-point Stefan Skellen, especially when you want to out-tempo your opponent and get that extra card out of him. That is a massive deal. I think it's more impactful than the Foglet and Tailbot's hand, because Tailbot can just hold on to that Woodland Spirit for the last round, and he can avoid, it being as big of an issue, even though it still does hurt for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Both players have a bad card in their hand, and they also both have a card that can reveal that information to their opponent, but they can sit on that. Koloman's golds are not going to be played until much later. Tailbot can save Woodland Spirit, but as soon as he plays Woodland Spirit, it will become more than clear that there is a Foglet in hand. As soon as Koloman plays a gold card, perhaps from Calvet.
No, he's already played Stefan Skellen.
He's already revealed
knows. Tailbot knows that he has Roach.
Of course, yes. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's okay. So that's clear. So Tailbot has that information. But Coleman doesn't.
And a player of the caliber of Tailbot will not miss out on that. As we stated prior, these two have faced before, and they did so in the first semifinals of the previous Gwent Challenger, and it was the highlight match of that event. which came down to a very tight 3-2 narrow victory for Coleman, which let him advance to the finals against Freddie Babes. Tailbot is looking to get revenge on that, as these are perhaps the two most impressive players as of late when it comes to the Gwent Pro Ladder scene. Tailbot with the number 1 spot on the Pro Ladder, and Coleman with spot number 2. 70% and 72% win rates, respectively. These two players are just on fire, unstoppable, and that is why everybody's extremely excited for this matchup. Only one can win, and we're witnessing a clash of Gwent Titans here.
Oh, yeah. This is like some undefeated UFC kind of situation here. One of these players is going to lose, believe it or not, at this level. One of these players is going to lose the match here. And yeah, we get Tailbot versus Atsukov, and now we have Tailbot versus Coleman. So really, really big matches here on both days of this Gwent Open weekend, as the play goes to Tailbot here, who still no problem staying ahead, no problem playing decent setup here. The fog is going to help. But from here, so the options here moving forward, developing the Dow is a little bit on the slow side, but the fog will help here. So the fog will keep him ahead just barely, and that also gives him the setup required to get the maximum value out of the Griffin. However, Coleman holding Mandrake can answer this and actually delete that, say, as Impetuous Panda might say, banish it to the Shadow Realm, if he really, really wants to.
He sure does like his Yu-Gi-Oh! And combing his hair.
And combing his hair.
We see a bit of a troublesome looking hand though there for Coleman with Marndrim and Mandrake. Those are rather low tempo plays, which are really gonna make it more difficult for him. That combined with the fact that he has Roach in hand makes it very unlikely that Coleman will be able to get an extra card out of Tailbot this round. Even though we do see no Frightener in Tailbot's hand, if he's able to fish for Cantrella with Calvate here, which he's not able to, I think we're gonna see him trying to invest those specials onto the leader to have a very powerful hashtag thick Calvate for round 3. But Tailbot can counter that carryover strength with his own Mandrake as well. So it's gonna be very interesting here, as Tailbot's hand looks a little bit more powerful in my opinion.
I have a question actually here. Now, we saw Vanamar come down here and clear the fog. It's interesting that since Tailbot had the Foglet in hand, he may have been a little bit less eager to play that Woodland Spirit.
Yeah.
By not playing that Woodland Spirit, the Foglet in hand, did it actually afford Tailbot the patience to actually outpace this Vanamar? Because if he didn't have the Foglet in hand, perhaps he may have been a little bit more gung-ho with that Woodland Spirit. Vanamar would have gotten a lot of extra value here. Now
well,
Tailbot
it was
has
a
the option.
runestone, right? So he also has
for
to,
sure.
Yeah, he it's obviously always a possibility, and you always have to play around that. It's very smart though, not to like just dump in your 2 sources of weather, especially when your opponent is in control. As soon as he plays that second source of weather, Coleman can just pass and ensure that he can go into a long round. As we see the Mandrake onto John Calvate to the Naika here. That is absolutely massive. That is so bad for Coleman right there. That makes his gold right there completely worthless.
And it's too bad because he's going to want to mulligan Roach as well. So he has to either keep Roach or keep K here. So that's very, very difficult here. And I agree with what you said before about Woodland Spirit, definitely not wanting to rush into it, but I think that the Foglet maybe gave him a little bit of extra apprehension on that.
Of course.
And if he wants to play the weather now, he'd be in a good position to do so. And this is so huge here. Coleman has a rough mulligan coming in here. Tailbot already knows that Roach is in the hand. The Mandrake, really being in the hand, deny the opportunity of Vesemir immediately buffing Calvate, which is what Coleman would have wanted here. So now he needs to see, where is he going to get the most value out of the Mandrake? It could be the deletion of the Dow here, and that is what's going to be happening here. That Dow ceases to exist, and from here, Tailbot has the option. He is behind now, 20 points with no weather ticking here. He will probably not be able to match this, but he will be able to set up at least.
See, this is the thing. This is the predicament that Coleman's in. He does have the lead. He does have the ability to get that card back, which is the main thing he wants. The problem is the matchup that he's facing. He's facing Dagon Deathwitch, and he knows he has the Woodland Spirit as another source of weather. So Coleman does not want to pass this early on, even though it ensures that he gets that extra card out of him, because he will be vulnerable to that weather, to that insane fog value that would happen in such a long round. And on top of that, now he's got another predicament. He has Roach in hand and Kahir, 2 bricks that he must find a way to get rid of, but it's just very difficult for that to happen without him enabling for Tailbot to get that extra card back, especially after this huge tempo play with the, 50-point play with the marching orders onto the Sheetroll here into Dow. So this is very difficult for Coleman. Does he take the pass now and get the card back and then is left with a very underwhelming hand and vulnerable to weather? Or does he keep pushing? Does he get rid of his bricks, but at the expense of Tailbot getting one card over him for round 3? It's not a good position to be in at all.
Well, that is the $3,000 to $4,000 question, I suppose. When we look at the that Sheetroll, I love that combo, by the way.
Yeah.
Marching orders into Sheetroll, and if you have Sheetroll, it's a Slizzard. You get a lot of value out of that marching orders, but this does put Tailbot in a potential situation of just having a Rot Fiend that couldn't be procced. We do see the Griffin, we do know it's possible, we do see the Cyclops, but that's how the hand looks now. As things get further and further down the line, we could see Tailbot end up in a situation that I believe we saw some players in yesterday where they didn't really have, the Rot Fiend is ultimately Sheetroll's best target because you really don't want to play it on the board. Before Sheetroll was changed, Rot Fiend was really very underplayed because of how slow it is and how you can kind of see it coming a mile away. So in this situation here, at least, the Slizzard can source another Dow at this point. Yes.
And that he gets his last Dow out of the deck, which is very nice. And Tailbot's late game is looking menacing as hell. Not only does he have the Woolen Spirit and the Wispus Tribute, but on top of that, he has Royal Decree onto Brewis Ritual to resurrect potentially an Archaspore and Dow in round 3 and combine them with the likes of Griffin and Cyclops. It's just so much power stacked here, while Coleman's hand is looking a little bit messy, to say the least. That Martrim is not really representing much power at all, especially in this matchup. Black Blood can be good, or it can be and that Dead Roach and that Dead Kahir, that Mandrake onto John Calvé, which is so devastating, so good for Tailbot.
I mean, the Mardro at least can hit the Sheetroll to delete that card, I suppose, which is because in this situation there's not going to be a lot of big boosts. You can maybe hold on to it if you anticipate Ozrael, but in this situation, Coleman's just going to go ahead, make Tailbot spend that extra card. But going into this third round, Tailbot's hand is really, really good, and Coleman has a big problem with Kahir and Roach both being in the hand.
Yeah,
and Villageforce potentially pulling one of those cards as well.
Not only can he improve his hand, he's very susceptible to whatever he draws, as he has a 100% mulligan target here, and I believe that mulligan target has to be, I think it has to be Roach actually. I think it has to be Roach because that way you play Kahir, you get Roach out of the deck, and that way you ensure that you don't break your Vilgefortz, because otherwise Vilgefortz can just pull Kahir out of the deck. You know, it can happen. So he has to actually mull Roach away. Kahir will be a 5-point play. And from that point onwards, I don't know what he'll try to find. Oh, and this is great for Tailbot. Getting that Rot Fiend out of there, especially in the Alchemy Nilfgaard matchup where they don't tend to roast stack, is super good for him. This is looking very, very nice for Tailbot and a little bit bad, to say the least, for Coleman.
I mean, Tailbot also gets to act first here, so this is, the Shadow makes this even better here. Double Griffin, going to be able to play Royal Decree into that Brewis Ritual to bring back a Dow and an Archaspore. Double Griffin potentially for a Dow if that Dow goes unanswered. The Mandrakes have already been played. The Cyclops, trigger the Dow, Cyclops the Dow. This can be an absolutely massive round for Tailbot.
And meanwhile, Coleman mulligans into Cantrella.
That definitely doesn't help here.
Feels bad. Like the discrepancy in power of these two hands is just over the top.
Where are the Viper Witchers? Oh, Coleman.
It's just impossible. There's no way.
Coleman can smell a loss from a mile away. I think he's easily going to just. I mean, the Viper Witchers didn't seem to show up there. Definitely had some pretty bad cards in the hand. Giving Tailbot the 13 points was the nail in the coffin. Even if you could have weathered the bad situation of Roach Kahir, you also had to deal with the fact that you weren't going to get the Calvet power play. Villageforce was going to be fairly underwhelming. Cantarella is just not going to get it done for you. So Tailbot's going to get that. Well played. Honestly, I think that went exactly Tailbot's way. Yes. That round 3 was, even if Coleman had things in a better situation, looked incredibly strong for Tailbot.
This game is a very prime example as to why dry passing against Alchemy Nilfgaard if going on blue is the best option, especially if you're running a weather-focused deck or a deck which has, a source of weather, as Dagon Deathwitch does. You not only do you make it so that they have to play out their cards and they have to stay in, you can also enable it to, like, you can put them in a situation which is a brick, because Macam Ales, especially if they run Roach. There's a lot of cards that Alchemy Nilfgaard has to get out of the deck, and you can really mess up their gameplay. And now we got a Mead versus Mead matchup here. King Bran, Civil War. But these two lists are quite different. Skellige has been the faction throughout this tournament in which we've seen more like personal, tweaked lists for each player. He's taking their own approach at it, which is very nice to see. As these two deck lists, may share the same leader, but their bronze lineups are actually quite different, and so are their golds as well.
It's actually really great because we've seen, even though this is a brand-on-brand matchup, and maybe the two most similar lineups as far as Bran is concerned and Skellige is concerned, this tournament has seen the largest variation of Skellige with greatswords and veteran and two different brand lists, well, multiple different brand lists, really. Every player brought Skellige, if I'm not mistaken.
Bran was the most popular, yeah.
You can compare that to Gwent Open number 3, where I believe every player brought almost the identical Bran Nova list. So it's really interesting how the tides can change with some changes that didn't even directly affect Skellige when we saw the meta shift completely.
Of course, Fred.
Okay, so we're going to get things started here with Bran. It's going to be discarding the Morkvarg, Olgierd, and Saris on Tailbot side, whereas Koloman discarding the Morkvarg, Olgierd, and Wolfsbane, I believe that's correct. So we're seeing, that's one of the biggest, I think early on, especially around the time when Wolfsbane was released, we saw the brand list shift from Saris to Wolfbane for a little bit of experimentation. Now things have settled down and we see players have that personal touch, as Mogwai said here. Koloman's going to get his engine started here. The light longship coming down, putting the pirate captain in the graveyard. Later on, that pirate captain will come back for the devastating restore if Koloman gets the draws he wants. And Tailbot will have to set up something of his own here. He's playing more of a cursed lineup, running those Bear Masters, as well as the Bone Talismans and the Clan Haymate Protectors, that's definitely the different spin that Tailbot has going. How do you feel, Mogwai, about the Haymate Protector Bone Talisman, as well as the Triss and Bone Talisman as well, which I really love personally on Tailbot's list?
I really like that combination. I did talk a little bit with Tailbot this morning, and he mentioned that Triss Bone Talisman is actually more powerful than the likes of Olaf as a finisher. And it's one of the reasons why he's taken this approach, basically, just to get that combination going on. I like that, that strategy, but I'm also a big fan of Koloman's brand. Koloman's King Bran, it's one of the leaders that I see him play the most with, and he's really refined this archetype to fit his needs. That one copy of Ancrate Whaler, the blacksmith, the name was changed. The Ancrate Blacksmith right there, triple running to basically buff the ships and empower that restore play. It's basically different approaches towards carryover strength, which is the main theme of the Skellige faction, as Wolfbane does proc and provides Koloman with a 12-point swing, as we see him taking the lead by 18 points.
Yeah, this is pretty huge. Blue coin Wolfsbane has always been pretty good. Bran on blue coin generally is pretty good as well. Tailbot actually opting to go Bran on the red coin here, but his Henselt was banned, so like we said at the very top of the round, of the match, I should say, it was a little bit more of a little bit of a disadvantage for Tailbot, as maybe his strongest red coin deck was not allowed, whereas Koloman's potentially was, just because Tailbot perhaps wasn't prepared to take on Consume, and we've seen Consume do some devastating damage, especially when piloted by Koloman here. Tailbot is just trying to stay in this at this point. He does have the ability to afford playing under at this point because he is going second in this match. Meanwhile, Koloman is setting up those engines. And both of these players are going to probably be getting to the same end goal here of the massive graveyard play that Skellige has to close rounds. And here comes that blacksmith.
We're witnessing the biggest differences between the two decks. Koloman's deck is focused around longships throughout Marauders, and instead of encouraging the Cursed synergy, it's more like a self-wounding strategy, as the Marauders get buffed by either Cursed or self-wound, while Tailbot has pretty much a bear deck. Like, if you look at his deck, it's just bears. It's Bear Masters, Haymate Protectors to get the Bone Talismans, and like I mentioned prior, instead of Olaf as a finisher, Triss Telekinesis to combine with the Bone Talisman. So the difference between these two is that Koloman has an ongoing engine. Those light longships will provide him value throughout the length of a round, while Tailbot's point generation is more static. It is not, there's no ongoing effects going on inside of the board, and every single amount of strength that he generates every turn is pretty much limited in that sense, but he does have the carryover advantage thanks to Queen Ceres, even though he has to time her properly. He has to make sure that the countdown timer goes down to 2 so that Morkvark and Olgierd will proc her at the beginning of the next round. So it's going to be very interesting to see how far Tilbot is willing to push, because I do believe that due to Coleman's consistent engine going on, I think his strength output total will be bigger than Tilbot. So Tilbot needs to get out of this round at the precise moment to get that Ceres procced off as well, so that he can deny Coleman getting his card back, as Coleman is going first.
I really love the Blacksmith in Coleman's deck because it really works with the longships. The longships don't actually do damage to the longship next to it because of the armor. It actually just allows that growth to be a little bit more potent. And on the other end, Talbot, while Coleman's slowly growing with power, Talbot is just waiting longer and longer to pull that trigger as he's building up a few more cursed units. His Marauders, when he finally starts playing them, will be a little bit stronger than Coleman's. However, still Coleman's going to have very, very strong Marauders on top of that. And here comes another Blacksmith potentially.
Man, he really milked those seconds. He went life coach mode there. and man, oh wow, that was some roping. Too much even for me, and I'm a master roper, but that was like literally to the last second as he picked his choice. He opted to go with the Shieldsmith and dropped the Pirate Captain to the graveyard, which does enable him to have a potential restore target. He does not have restore in hand, but obviously Tilbot does not know this.
And it's also good here because he was able to play the Spy and actually still stay ahead.
Yes.
So Talbot's play of the Spy actually puts him fairly behind. So the first situation here is looking at Coral as an option to shrink down this longship artifact compression. Now that restore target, and we're talking about restore Pirate Captain Corsair big ship. But Coleman now has that extra Blacksmith, so he'll be able to at least create a stronger ship on the 13-point ship that is growing at this point. So now Coleman is playing behind. But he has reversed the order with Udalryk, and Talbot will probably. Do you think it's in a better situation for Talbot just to push, try to win this round, Udalryk round 2, or to counter Udalryk when he has enough of a lead to afford it?
Well, here's the thing: Talbot still has the carryover advantage. So even though Coleman has reverted the coin flip in his favor. Tilbot will have more strength in him, so Tilbot could even dry pass if he wants to. So I think as Tilbot, you want to push here. You're not really fearing the lack of ability to dry pass. You've already seen the Spy, and you've created enough. You created a huge point gap with this Coral play that you're in a very comfortable spot. So if I'm Tilbot, I think you just continue to push. You just start dropping your. You have a chance to go for the Bone Talisman here with the Hamey Protector, as one of the bears went to the graveyard. And you set up those Berserker Marauders, really. You can preserve that Spy and potentially use it in round 2 if you need to, even, to dictate as much as you want. Or you go for it now.
There's the Udalryk.
But if he drops it now, he does not stay ahead.
Definitely not, but look at these pulls here. This is not great because if he takes the Heim, he loses Skjall, and you definitely don't want to lose Heim, I think. So, especially in the mirror where Heim can likely pull a Sigurdrifa for yourself.
You take Heim.
So it's really going to be, it's too bad to lose Skjall, but you can resurrect Skjall. I believe he is a clan unit, so Sigurdrifa can bring him back. He just needs to get Sigurdrifa, but getting Heim gives him an extra opportunity to get Sigurdrifa, and later draws in this round could mean that he could get the double Sigurdrifa. And from here on, it's just going to be Bear Town. 3 bear options here with the Clan Protector and the Bearmaster, and then the Marauders would start coming down, storming the gates, probably between 15 and 18 points, considering the units on the board at this point. Lots of cursed, well, just the 2 cursed bears, actually. I may take that back. Looking at Coleman's board, the Marauders are much better.
Now, what's interesting about this Spy play is that, while it's good for Tilbot to take control of round 1 and win, and potentially even have the ability to dry pass on his opponent because he will have the carryover advantage. At the same time, it's even better for him to lose round 1 with 1 card over his opponent and have the carryover advantage and ensure that he doesn't enable Coleman to get that card back, as both players have played their Spy at this point. So whether Tilbot will continue to push here or whether he'll look for a cheeky pass is really up to how his sequencing will go for round 3. But you definitely just, like if he plays the Bearmaster here, he's definitely going to start setting up the Marauders. So I think we can definitely expect Tilbot to dive in completely this round and perhaps preserve the likes of Heim for round 3, as those Marauders will build up a lot of strength. Right now we see a total of 1, 2, 3, 4 cursed units on the board, with the potential of a resurrection from the Heimei Protector onto a 5th.
Yeah.
And there's the pass for Coleman. I think this is a very solid pass here.
Yeah, it was a 16-point Marauder, I think, as an option for Coleman at that point, but both players definitely calculating how large a Marauder would be here. Coleman not really worried about this here. Tailbot taking the round with the extra carryover with Ceres, potentially with the possibility of drawing Sigurdrifa into possibly Skjal to make this much, much more difficult. Lots of power here. Bone Talisman being drawn here, likely mulliganed away.
Yes.
You'll take
We see
that frame.
Coral. Coleman still has Coral. There is Ceres on crate, which does provide Tailbot with 7 more carryover strength than Coleman. Now, I like this pass from Coleman because once he saw the spy, he knew that this is his best case scenario, because at this point, if he keeps on pushing, he actually kind of like really forced that pass from Coleman, because if Coleman kept on playing cards, Tailbot could just pass and gotten that extra card out of him. And because both pies were played, Coleman would have been left in a situation in which she would have to, out-tempo Tailbot, despite Tailbot having 7 strength over him. So that was pretty much a situation in which he was forced. And Tailbot can now dry pass or pretty safely push, in my opinion, as that 7 initial or 7 strength over Coleman can definitely give him some safety, at least, when it comes to these initial turns. What we are!
I love the voice lines on the Protector.
13-point play here.
Yeah, and knowing that you're going to get 2 reses to proc Ceres, you keep 2 reses in your hand here with the Protector and Freya, perhaps just for safety. Bleeding maybe some resources out of Coleman, staying in this round a little bit longer. The Reconnaissance can probably find you that other Marauder, and then Heim, of course, is a little bit of a wild card here. The Marauder loses value in a shorter round, so Tailbot and Coleman both are looking for the best possible value they can get from the Marauders. But those, the Protector and the Frey are going to bring back a lot of cursed units here for Tailbot. So I think that he probably will have a bit more of a favored situation here as far as the Marauders are concerned. Coleman playing the Wound game, Tailbot playing the Cursed Bear game, so it's really going to come down to probably the power level of the Marauders and the access for those Marauders.
Tailbot has to be very careful here. He can push as long as he wants, as we see Coleman has set up an engine that will give him 1 extra point every single turn. Tailbot has to be very methodical here and ensure that every single play that he makes, he can basically assure Coleman not being able to catch up. Because if Coleman is able to catch up and retain that extra card over him, it will be devastating, especially in a mirror match like this. Their lineups may be different, but the power output of these decks is actually rather similar. So I definitely expect a pass sooner or later from Tailbot. He has to be, like I said, that 7 initial strength really does help him, but it's also, he's playing with fire here a little bit as well.
12-point Marauder coming in here for Tailbot.
Who's the courage to fight the Belt Carlos, eh?
Giving him a sizable lead here. Without
right now,
spending
Coleman
something-
would need an 18-point play. 19-point play, sorry, which he does not have yet. Like Heim
yeah,
is
the
dangerous.
world is yours when you have Heim. I mean, lots of stuff is possible in the mirror, especially.
Heim is very dangerous. Because Heim can potentially... Okay, so in this particular matchup, against Tailbot's Brand, Heim will get either Olgierd, Morkvark, Scowl, or Sigdrifa. Definitely, Morkvark and Olgierd really do disrupt Heim in the mirror, as we did see this same thing play out yesterday as well.
Gods are blowing fair
But Coleman is not going for Heim yet, as he's just going to drop I like this play.
Yeah, this hurts Ceres' potential a little bit later, as
does.
we only see 2 reses in Tailbot's hand. Olgierd coming back, and this board state at the moment, Morkvark will not be coming back, which means Ceres would need an additional res to proc it, and the Heim would have to get that, or the draw in round 3 for Tailbot.
And even after this play, which is not the most proactive Coleman could have gone for, he's closed the gap by 1 point. He's now 6 points ahead from Tailbot. The last 2 turns, it was 7, which means he's getting closer. And Tailbot is not really making very high tempo plays here. Like, his next Berserker Marauder would be a total of 13 points, which would put him 19 points ahead. But that ship is proccing, so it would make the gap a little bit weaker. And he does need to preserve the Heimei Protector and the Freya if he wishes to proc Ceres. Even though right now that Olgierd will proc Ceres once, So he definitely needs to hold on to those rests at the very least, and there we see the pass.
I think this is the correct
Yeah.
play here. Definitely want to pass here. Make Coleman spend that card, go into
Yep.
evens, acting last with Heim. Now, of course, Coleman also has Heim and his own Sigurdrifa, and that actually could be a huge difference here. Coral's value is middling, I think, if you're only going to be hitting. Obviously, you're probably looking for a large Marauder if you're just going for a straight value play for Coral in this situation. But Coleman does have to spend one of his Marauders here, likely, because all the Sigurdrifa and the Heim and the Coral likely. Well, I wonder actually if the Coral is less value. Yeah, Coleman's going to.
Oh, I like this. Onto the Ogeared.
Yeah,
onto the Ogeared.
Oh, and the Ogeared. Yes, that's good. That's all you need here.
That that is excellent. Oh, that is so good by Coleman. He really wants to deny Ceres. Denying Ceres can make the difference in this matchup. Tailbot really relies on Ceres on crate 7 extra strength, and he's just taking another source of resurrection
Got one.
to proc it. That's a great draw for Tailbot, though, as he can blacklist that talisman and increment his chances of drawing Triss telekinesis, which is what he needs. He really needs Triss here.
It's interesting because I think he has another.
Oh, wait,
whoa! Well, he has the 4 res.
Oh, look at that's devastating.
Not what you want now. He has a dead protector now. That's the
Oh
thing.
no!
He doesn't have 4
He
reses.
risked it there.
He risked it. He could have kept the talisman and mulliganed something else instead. Again, risk
He
it,
needed
looking
that.
for
He
Triss.
did that because he needed that extra res.
He did.
That Coral play forced Tailbot to mulligan inefficiently, and he got punished for
Was
it.
it worth it though? Was it worth the risk to get that
I think
extra
so. You gotta
7
play to
points?
win. I think you gotta play to win because if you don't have Ceres, you miss out on 7 strength, and that is so much here. Like you're missing out on a key source of strength. Oh man, that Coral was so good. That Coral may have won Coleman this match. That was nuts. Oh man, but I love that Tailbot went for that. Like you have to risk it at that point, but he definitely got punished right there. He needed Triss, and he got the other talisman right there, breaking the Heme Protector. That is just a 2-point play, and he also will not be able. Well, he can still enable the Ceres because Heim could create a Sigrifa. And in this particular matchup, will it be 100? No, it's the same scenario right here. Actually, no, it is 100%. No, yeah, it is Markvark, Olgierd, Scowl, and Sigrifa. So it's the same for both players. Both players have actually an identical silver lineup, so yeah.
So if the luck is even worse for Tailbot, he could potentially not see it, but it's 3 out of 4 chance. Here comes Coleman. Coleman sees the Sigurdrifa, which is excellent.
He gets it. Oh man, but that's
thinking
just
about
too
the Marauder,
devastating.
perhaps? He's thinking about maybe the Marauder from Skull, perhaps?
It's such a tight round.
He is
having a
holding his own
two-strength unit.
Sigurdrifa, so he doesn't necessarily need it, but it is, we're just trying to get max value here. Pirate Captain
Onto
into
Corsair.
onto the big ship, as we didn't see Restore here, so this is the way to get the smaller ship. As he does have his own Sigurdrifa for the Pirate Captain later to get the bigger ship. I'm sorry, the bigger ship's already on the board.
Modern Freyr is patient, but she brooks no insult.
Wow, that's
Coleman's got
devastating.
so much strength on the board at this point.
Yeah, Coleman is
really
29 points ahead as this bear is going to drop down 12. He's going to close the gap down to 17. He may very well, unless he gets extremely unlucky, he will get Ceres out. But again, that bricked Heme Protector is devastating, especially in a short round 3 in which you're facing a mirror match, and Coleman is not going to give him points like that. We see Sigrifa onto Scowl, onto Marauder.
This is out of reach for Tailbot at this point.
Completely.
Even getting the Sigurdrifa potentially, and he did get it. He's going to get Ceres as well, and those talismans will represent 22 points in total, but he's already behind by so much here.
He will proc Ceres though, but he's behind 19 points.
Oh,
It's
sorry,
too much.
it's rezzing the Marauders as well, but of course Coleman with his own
And the
Marauders
ship's
and a much
proccing.
better board for it. This is likely going to be the old escape enter here. Yeah,
Yep.
there it is. As
Reaching for the
Tailbot
keyboard, he's on his
reaches
side.
the keyboard nowhere near the screen. It's a mouse
GG.
game, right? A little GG here.
That
Both-
Coral won the game. That Coral onto Ogeared sealed the deal for Coleman, and he takes it back and evens the score 1-1. This matchup already living up to the hype, as these two players are definitely going at it, and they're pretty evenly matched, I think.
Oh, yeah, this is really, really close now. Tailbot going in with Alchemy and, of course, that brand list, which is very strong. And, of course, Alchemy, Tier 1. But, of course, Coleman with Henselt and the red coin option now going into round 3, plus an Alchemy of his own. This really is anyone's game. I think Coleman does have the advantage in this round. If Tailbot is able to take this round, that would be absolutely massive. and maybe Dun banners tell the story here for Coleman as well. We've seen a lot of things going on with mulligans and draws, which have been largely influenced by the opponent's pass and the opponent's pressuring their players pressuring their opponents into unfavorable situations where they need to take big risks. We've seen some pay off, but boy, we've seen a lot of duds.
Here we go, the Empire versus the Filthy Nordlings.
Hey.
I'm not biased, come on now. Alchemy Nilfgaard versus Henselt Machines, two of the most powerful decks in the current metagame going at it. Coleman is going second, which is the preferable scenario for Henselt, as he does have 3 winches, which may be a little bit too much, especially considering the fact that he's running John Natalis. So he definitely wants, with John Natalis, with a winch and reinforcements, he is at risk at breaking his John Natalis. So definitely was kind of forced to replace one of the winches there, but he does have access to another one through Triss Telekinesis. Very solid looking hand for Coleman. He has the Ronvid, he has 1 copy of each machine, and the Bloody Baron Wincon in his hand as well, as Tilbot is forced to go first here with an also pretty solid looking hand himself, with potentially Rainfart into Cantarella, Besemir and Vilgefortz, Kakir for the late game, and Viper Witchers, which Viper Witchers are pretty much the most important card in this matchup, as they can deny the Henselt.
Rainfart into Cantarella is a decent start here as well, even putting some points here into Coleman's hand here. Forces Taller to come out. Taller into the Dun banner is likely one of the better situations that Coleman could find himself in if he make that pressure on red coin. It was a risky mulligan that last win. She could have actually drawn the Dun banner there, but
I think he blacklisted it he blacklisted it.
I did miss the first mulligan. In that case, I was focusing on Tailbot's hand, so never mind. I'm just looking for those risky narratives, you know. It's just a little bit, so much more spicier looking at it from that angle. Of course, gotta be correct. As we start off with both spies being played here, so that's it. Tailbot locked in on the blue side.
Tailbot really debating here. The thing is, Alchemy Nilfgaard is not the type of archetype that can truly justify a dry pass. For the reasons I stated numerous times, it is a deck that really requires you to thin out through your list, get the Macamails out of there. You have to play your John Calvate as well, so your Kahir has a leader to resurrect, and it really loses out a lot of efficiency if you don't go for set thinning. As he's hovering over the Slave Driver right here, which will get him either Reinforced Ballista, Battering Ram, or the Siege Master right there.
This is pretty good for Alchemy on the Slave Driver's side, because you can develop your machine and then you can pick up the Siege Masters to get that extra deploy effect, plus the crew as well. Slave Drivers often using their opponent's strategy against them, which can be very frustrating if you've ever played on the ladder. But also getting those extra bodies.
Come on now.
Everybody loves Alchemy Nilfgaard, of course. Getting the extra bodies as well makes Mahakamail a lot easier to play. Very easy to surge ahead in points here, but Coleman will always have the option between double winch and the single of Battering Ram and Siege Master. Coleman may take an early opportunity to use Henselt, because there's a lot of removal available for Tailbot in Alchemy Nilfgaard generally, even though we only see the 1 Viper Witcher in hand right now. A lot of ways to fish and to get things done. So I think in Coleman's case, are you looking to develop Henselt as early as possible to get that extra value and perhaps force a pass from Tailbot? Or is it better to save that for Nanika? Because Nanika can also be used for the Dun banners as well later on. It's tough because you know that Kahir is going to be that power play. You know that you likely will be going down in points, playing slow perhaps. I mean, the options are there. Coleman is a very adaptive player, so we're going to see what he chooses to do.
I think if you're Coleman here, you definitely want to use Henselt round 1, because it is very disruptible in a short round 3 when you're facing a deck that can resurrect Viper Witchers. You definitely don't want to go down that line. And the reason you just stated is actually the reason why you want to also use Neneke for the Dun banners. Kahir onto John Calvate is very easily a 20-point play most of the time. So it's very difficult as Nilfgaard Alchemy to prevent the Dun bananas, as they call them, from coming out and debating the opponent when you get those huge swings in the short round. So Neneke is preferably used for that purpose. What Tailbot is really trying to do right now is he's basically trying his best to avoid Dun banners from spawning out. So he's really calculating every play here to make sure he does not exceed his opponent's strength mark by 21. He has to keep it at 20 or lower. Otherwise, Dun banners could be very devastating for him. Dun banners are just absolutely just so powerful when going second, because the deck will be thin, and those extra 12 points will basically take away the value from the spy that you played initially. And it's definitely something that Tailbot has to take into consideration. It's why Henselt deck, the Henselt deck is so feared when on red coin. It's one of the reasons why. It's just very powerful. That combined with the tremendous tempo output that Henselt has. And as you can see there, the Dun Banners is a card we're talking about. If you are losing by 20 points or more on turn start, you summon this unit. And that means it auto summons from the deck. And there are 3 copies lying down there.
It's interesting that Tailbot opted to use the Viper Witcher just for value there on Ronvid, as opposed to saving it to eliminate a machine that could be Henselted. But it looks like Tailbot was maybe planning on passing here anyway. He knows that Reinforced Trebuchet isn't something that Henselt can spawn 3 of, as it came from the Winch. He does know Kolomon's deck list. He knows that he's dealing with a Baron list that's focusing on removal with Battering Ram and Reinforced Ballista. But in this situation, he's just going to make Kolomon go a card down, and perhaps make future rounds a little bit less favorable, as there's nothing for Nanika to really do yet. And Kolomon, for it to have that late game potential and get a lot of use out of Nanika, would have to play into a longer round too. And that's probably in Tailbot's interest here. But either way, now, would you say that Tailbot is taking a bit of a risk not actually playing Calvet to activate K here? Should Kolomon pass and go into a long round? That could make K here harder to play. Builded Forts, of course.
Well, if he does dry pass on him, then Tailbot will 100% go for John Calvate.
Yeah.
And just getting to the graveyard there, but he will lose his shot at investing into it, like getting some carryover value onto it throughout the likes of Mandrake, unless he pulls it through John Calvate himself. We may not witness thick Calvate here, as we see one. Okay. So this is one of the ways to punish Henselt, is having the opponent draw 2 of them, so he's forced to keep one of them in your hand. Breaking one of the Dun banners is very, very crippling for the machine archetype. As we're going to see Tailbot get rid of that Macam Ale, blacklisting it, and drawing into another Viper Witcher. It's going to be very interesting to see what Kolomon opts to do here. This is a very solid pass by Tailbot, because what he's really working against here is the Dun banners. He really does not want to give Kolomon those Dun banners, and he also wants to make it so that his Henselt is more disrupted as well. It's basically the whole story of this matchup is try to disrupt the Henselt value throughout your control mechanisms, and try to avoid Dun bananas from, I-serving you, which is one of the most triggering lines, if you ask me.
Alert. So Kolomon's going to go for that. Going to go for the dry pass here, as Ronvid says hello one more time. Tailbot now looking to make a fairly non-commitment play. In most games, we've seen the Novice come down for the Mahakam Ale. So here comes Calvet. Now, the option also was to play Calvet in round 3 and use Village of Forts to kill it. This is probably, you lose a little bit of value from Village of Forts there. 4 points isn't nothing when this can be a very close game. Calvet here, why is Calvet here a better play than just playing the Novice and perhaps looking to cycle Calvet later with Village of Forts? Is it really just that extra value that you look for in Village of Forts?
Yeah, exactly. You want that extra points. Like it's a very different thing. Burning Calvate than burning something like a Kier, for example. We're talking about 4 points difference, and it's definitely worth it. Every single point matters, and even though I was mentioning he losing potential to Mandrake, the John Calvate. That Mandrake can be utilized to erase one of the Battering Rams and deny the Henselt, so it's a very good tool at that. And we see Tailbot actually deciding to blacklist one of the ointments and keeping the Macam Ale in his hand, as he's going to drop a Zyre right off the bat.
Yeah, so this is great. Tailbot has 4 sources of removal, potentially. So the Battering Ram and the Siege Masters both can be deleted by the Mandrake.
And denying the Ronvid.
Denying the Ronvid, and potentially putting one of the most devastating ways you can use the undoomed spies these days, and now that they do not proc again, putting it in the deck which is definitely...
He did that because he's running Althor's double cross, but Coleman does not have Althor's double cross in hand. That's why he went for that play. We saw Hanachan do this yesterday against the Morcus. It just
cost him the game.
Completely shut him down. Like, it was so devastating. But Coleman not playing into that and not having Althor's double cross in hand, not drawing into it. Fortunately for him, that would have been very, very devastating. But he has a brick John Natalis. This is what we're mentioning earlier. That is so important here. Now Tilbot just has to completely and utterly focus on denying the Hensel value. He has double Viper Witcher in hand. He has all the tools to do so. He has to do that, and he has to be really careful. But the thing is, this brick John Natalis also makes the Dun Banner coming out more likely because it's such a low tempo play. And as Alchemy Nilfgaard, your plays are kind of linear when it comes to the strength output that you're getting out there. So it's very hard to avoid it. Like, it's very, very hard. You have to play suboptimally. And this is one of like the weaker plays, and it's a 12-point play. So
I think Coleman should still have an opportunity to use Henselt, as Nanika can bring a reinforced ballista back into the deck. If I'm not mistaken, there is one in the graveyard, as well as reinforcement can source a machine. But of course, it gets worse and worse over time. The battering ram and the siege master both will be taken care of easily. The winch can roll for something that Coleman can use with Henselt, but I think that ultimately Henselt's probably going to see far less value here. Also, Triss can find something as well, but Nanika's going to be later as the insurance after things get removed here.
I think that mid-game pass from Tilbot was so good. It put Coleman in a very awkward position. It's not long enough of a round for him to like really capitalize on the snowballing potential of his cards, and it also really makes his Hensel really hard to happen. Like it was so good. Him, like the fact that he avoided a round one Hensel with that pass and put him in such a spot, especially when you're not encouraged to pass mid game with Alchemy Nilfgaard like that. He knew exactly what he needed to do there, and Coleman is just in a very precarious position here.
And the drawing into the Dun Banners forced him to not be able to mulligan something that would unbrick John Natalis.
Also, buffing that Vicar Voronavis with a Solar Potion prevents the Battering Ram from empowering the Bloody Baron we see on the far right hand of Coleman. So, very interesting scenario.
Or even the Battering Ram in itself can't actually kill anything to get that extra point. So, extra 3 points. He's not going to go for the removal on the Reinforced Ballista in this situation. Probably, well, he already knows. I think he already one has been played if I'm not mistaken. So he knows that that's not the best Henselt target.
It'll work.
Oh, slave drivers, we may miss you in ranked if things get changed, but we'll always have casual. We'll see. We'll see what the future of what it looks like with Create. But
man, that desire to Ronvid is taking away so much value from these machines. It's making it very awkward for Coleman because you would say just play that Siege Master early on. The problem is that Siege Master is Coleman's source for Hensel. Like the thing is, if it does take the hit, he does have Nedicate to be able to recycle them, if you may, right? So he does have the chance for that, but he has to be very careful though.
I imagine that Tailbot is probably going to destroy or perhaps delete the Siege Master in this situation here, and probably do as much removal as possible. But Tailbot definitely knows Nanika is a threat, knows that Henselt will likely get enough value to be worthwhile. It's the John Natalis, I think, that's actually going to be pushing this in Tailbot's favor as far as the scales shifting in power. Here comes the kill.
This enables the Dun Banner, though. This enables the Dun Banner. Aye, aye, sir.
There they are.
He could have gone for Mandrake to avoid this, and that also would have prevented the Neneke there.
I think that Mandrake would have been, I mean, unless Tailbot has a different idea of where he wants to place the Mandrake, but I was also thinking that Mandrake likely was the better option, specifically as it does 3 things at once. It prevents Henselt, it prevents Neneke from putting that back in, and prevents that from that being a future Henselt target, and of course denies the Dun Banner. But it's possible that Tailbot just knows Dun Banner is going to come out anyway. There is going to be a huge play, either Village of Forts Decay here, one of those is going to put him in a big position here, as Coleman is playing very slow in the first place.
Yeah, it's not like he was, like, honestly, like in this scenario, especially as you said, like the Kahir play onto John Calvate, it's rather unlikely for him to avoid the Dun Banners at this point. Coleman does have the tools to play in a very, slow manner, and at least he gets it out of the way. It's 12 strict points, but he's really hunting down those Siege Masters, denying the crewmen, taking power from the machines, and just shutting Coleman down really efficiently. Also still preserving that Mandrake for the battering ram. I definitely expect it to go down here.
The battering ram, yeah, definitely the battering ram is going to be an option here. You still have a kill target in the reinforced ballista at 3, so you're still going to be getting, a max value uncrewed battering ram plus the Henselt threat. Now Tailbot does need to answer this. Ultimately, Nanika's if this is the Mandrake here, Nanika will be putting Tailbot. Just
you go
quick
Mandrake.
Peek here
You go
at the graveyard, so he knows that the Siege Masters would be the Nanika target. But if he's able to keep the machines off the board, what are the Siege Masters really going to do? They are going to be points, obviously, but he does. There is also the reinforced ballista as well. So, really, it's going to come down to Henselt here.
I think you go
Tailbot's
Mandrake.
decision here. I think this is
Obviously, Winch is still a thing. But I think Mandrake is too solid of a play here, honestly.
Battering Ram is the more devastating Henselt target, especially on a board that's groomed finally here by the Reinforced Ballista already. So being able to deny the Battering Ram ultimately is in Tailbot's best interest.
Okay, he's avoiding it. Okay, instead he's going to go for the Macamail to deny potential value from the Rams. Okay. You know what? He's actually preserving... But the thing is, he can't really preserve Mandrake for Bloody Baron, as Coleman will preserve that for his last play. So, interesting. Going for the Macamail there. Discouraging, perhaps, the Henselt right now, as it's not like the battering rams are going to get insane value. They may be looking at 9 each, unless he's able to break something down there. Well, he could double target the Viper Witcher, perhaps. Oh, this is interesting here.
These players have met before in Challenger 2, and they are meeting again. So far, this has not disappointed. We've already seen, even the ban was very interesting in the Erika's Queen. And now here comes Henselt. He's going to go ahead and just take that chance. He knows there's a lot of removal coming, and there's a lot of potential for Tailbot to shut that down. So he's just going to go ahead and get that crew a little bit less value, a little bit less opportunity for Baron to grow here, but ultimately a lot safer just to play Henselt at this point. And now the denial game from here is less potent, I guess, from Tailbot, but Tailbot definitely has a lot of power. Kahir into Calvate, Joachim de Vet also has a lot of opportunities to bring some big units out. Either Slave Driver or I believe a Viper Witcher is still available. Vikovar Nav is also available for Joachim, if I'm not mistaken.
He knows he only has one crewman, which, like I've said, it really does weaken his game here. Coleman does have a significant lead now, but not too significant. And as you said, that late game power with Kahir, Vesemir Mentor, and Vilgefortz is just obscene. We're going to see Vesemir Mentor here into an Ointment, onto a Viper Witcher, I would assume. Oh, onto a Slave Driver instead, okay. Oh, yes! Oh, yeah. That's massive.
That's great.
That's so good. Denying the crewman. And there's still 3 machines to be procced. That Neneke is looking to be just 10 points, really.
Well,
wow.
Here, what Nanika can do is put the Siege Masters back into the deck and allowing, you know what, I'm going to take that back right now because I actually don't think Coleman's not running a reconnaissance. No. Triss is only a winch. My mistake. Yeah. Triss is only winch in this situation. So yes, no crewman here. Good pickup there.
Wow.
So yeah, Nanika's just 10 points.
Such
John
a good play.
Natala's just 6 points.
That Slave Driver, really high rolling there for the battering ram there. He got it, which is not that crazy considering he's only run 4 different bronze cards in his deck, right? Mm-hmm. And shutting down that crewman, taking 2 power off from that reinforced ballista. And this winch is translated into a reinforced trebuchet instead. Man, Tailbot with just outstanding gameplay right here, like making every single proper decision just to shut this Henselt down. It's
really slowing him down. Really
taking
limiting.
Henselt down on red, like that is.
Well,
that is very impressive.
Ourselves, but I do think that this is really slow. I mean, the ballista is low value. Nanika's low value. Triss is going to be Triss. Triss is going to do Triss things with no crewman to support, and then ultimately the Baron is probably just going to be 16, 17 points at this point. So Tailbot is just the game is too close at this point. Here comes Joachim for the giant Bikavar novice. Going to get the party started. We're going to pass some ale around the table here. Tailbot in a commanding position at this point.
19-point Joachim right there. Very, very solid. Putting Tailbot on a 16-point lead, while Koloman is looking at a 9-point Reinforced Ballista, a 10-point Neneke, and I mean that 14-point, that Bloody Baron is not looking, maybe 15 at most, depends on what Tristan Gleeson does. But he's not looking in. We're not looking into very solid power upwards here. But that Mandrake as well is not really representing much value for Tailbot. But Kahir into Vilgefort is just going to be so many points.
And we talked about how Koloman can smell a loss coming, so we're going to see at what point Koloman thinks that his hand is not going to be able to stand up here.
It depends on his late game, right? Like you can't predict like him having Vilgeforts or not. But this Kahir thing will be very, very strong. The question is, does Tailbot go? I think you just go for the. I think you go for the Kahir here. Go Kahir into Calvate. Take a look at your deck. It will also give you the proper information for Vilgeforts as well. You can preserve Mandrake a little bit more in case Koloman were to drop. Or no, he already knows.
I like this. Vilgeforts into the Slave Driver means that there's even less opportunity for things to get killed on his board, limiting a little bit more power of Bloody Baron. Oh well, he's killing it himself.
Oh, and he gets the Osro. That's GG. Oh, Vilgeforts. That Vilgeforts was 26 points and propels Tailbot to a whopping 32-point lead over Koloman, while Koloman is sitting on that 10-strength Neneke. Oh, wow. Henselt is being shut down here. That pass, that made it, like, it looks easy. It looks easy, but it's like there's so many small details. There's so many micro decisions that Tailbot made here that really led him to this position. Like that mid-game patch, I keep saying pass, Igrish, to deny the Henselt on round 1. It just made it so awkward for Koloman. And we see the Guardian there. I forgot he was taking the Guardian, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, this has really been a fantastic display by Tailbot. Just like both of these players kind of went in here trying to play the value game, and Tailbot just really mitigated a lot of the stuff that Koloman can do, and it was a long enough round that you can start to see the disparity just grow and grow at this point.
Just outstanding performance by Tailbot in this one. I'm very impressed by the way he handled this matchup. Like his timing with the pass and just every single play. Like his Desire play was beautiful as well. Onto the Ronvit and the Cantrilla to punish him in case he had Althor's double cross. Like every single decision here. He has such a monstrous lead now that even though this Mandrake is not really representing much at all, I believe only a total of 10 points onto that Reinforced Trebuchet. Or the Battering Ram, the same thing. And
that's it, mathematically out of that bad boy. And there is the escape, enter Koloman,
well
falling
done
to Tailbot. Tailbot shutting down Henselt on the red coin mod while we talked about how huge that has to be for Tailbot. Tailbot is in a great position here. Match point. I don't want to take anything away from Koloman, but yeah, Tail God. That was a fantastic game of Alchemy. You certainly can appreciate something like that. Wow. Tailbot is going to go in with a very, very strong brand deck. His own spin with the Heimei Protectors, the Clan Protectors, and that Bone Talisman deck with Ceres and Crate. Koloman's going to have to figure out how he wants to approach that brand deck if he wants to play Calvet one more time in a situation where, Henselt one more time or Calvet of his own here.
Man, this particular matchup I was so impressed by. Like shutting down a player of the caliber of Koloman, playing Henselt on red, that is just outstanding. Tailbot is just a monster lately. Yeah. Like what is he eating? I want some of that too. Like what the hell? Give me some of those brain cells. I need them.
Well, we saw him at breakfast. He had it was just a stack. He was just like, I need that energy. I need that energy.
Yeah, it's like an elephant meal.
Oh yeah, it was really, really good. good breakfast. We talked a lot about these matchups. We talked to Tailbot a little bit about how he felt about the matchup, and I think that he's probably feeling a lot better about things now, being able to take Henselt down there. Really, really great performance there. And I think that this hand is, I mean, looking at Tailbot's hand just to get things started as Coleman just finishes his mulligan. Actually, I did want to ask you a question about Alchemy here. Coleman opting to take Marjorie as his kind of his one of extra Alchemy card just to give the Viper Witch as that extra push. You see Tailbot on the other side taking that Swallow Potion. Why do you think Coleman thought that this matchup in this landscape maybe would favor the Marjorie over the Swallow?
Well, that's a very good question, actually. Considering the lineups that we're seeing, it's not that Marjorie has that big of an impact. Obviously, in the Skellige matchup, it seems to be really solid, as it can be utilized on a light lung ship, and give you quite a bit of a point swing right there, as it can deny all the boost that a light lung ship has gained throughout an entire round, or onto the Berserker Marauders as well. It's hard for me to figure out. Like, it can also be used proactively onto John Calvate as well, right? To make him 3 points, you can have a 3 carryover point play as well. But it just seems very low tempo in a lot of different matchups too. While Swallow Potion is perhaps a safer option, but an option that's also never going to succeed or surpass 10 points, right? So I think it's a matter of go safe or go big or go home, and we see where each player stands with their approach. I think Coleman is a rather brave individual when it comes to his preparation towards tournaments, because he was the only player who brought consume monsters despite the massacre that happened, the Necker massacre that occurred by Super JJ in the prior Gwent Open. He did not care. He just brought him again, and I think it was a very smart choice, and it was something that really made Tailbot quite worried about this matchup, because he was going to be forced to ban that. As I was speaking with him this morning, was going to be forced to ban the consume monster list, and thus have to face 3 other beast decks in King Bran, Henselt, and John Calvate. So
I think it speaks volumes to the tournament preparation that goes in here from Coleman. Coleman, predicting what we predicted as well when we were talking before, we figured that Henselt was going to be the most popular band by a long shot, perhaps 100% band.
Yes.
Just because of how well Henselt has performed in tournaments and how important it is kind of in this meta where Henselt is just looking to be one of the strongest options. So Coleman goes ahead and takes a very polarizing and sometimes binary deck in Consume as a ban magnet, which would allow, and I think maybe Hannah-chan maybe took that standpoint as well, maybe picking something that was a little bit off, and also the meta shifting completely, seeing we see 7 out of 8 players bringing Dagon over Erika's Queen, choosing to have a Death Wish variant over Consume. In that situation, you wouldn't necessarily ban that. You try your luck against Dagon, but trying your luck against Erika's Queen can just be going into a loss.
Yes.
So in this situation, it's kind of it tracks the ban away from Henselt. In this situation, both Tailbot and Hannah-chan kind of went with the devil they know. They're going to face off against Henselt, or sorry, a Dutch boy. Going to go with the devil they know, face off against Henselt, and not against the kind of the outlier where it can be extremely hard to beat both Greatsword and Consume when things really get going.
I think if you want to make a difference, especially at this high level, with all players are rather evenly matched, taking these risky approaches are definitely worth it. I'm a big fan of, for example, Super JJ's preparation overall, as he always focuses on heavily targeting one archetype that he expects to meet. And we see different styles. Coleman is very, very keen on. Oh, we're gonna see a Bone Talisman here to heal that bear and strengthen it by 3. That's super solid.
Yeah,
that make Coleman think twice about going for that Viper Witcher onto the bear, because that makes that Bone Talisman in round 3 through Triss even stronger now.
I was actually surprised we didn't see that in the previous game, where 2 Viper Witchers came down to slice up the bears before bringing them down to 1, and there was an option to do that as well. But making the bears.
This matchup, you mean?
No, it was an earlier matchup. Well, how could it possibly have been an earlier matchup? There was a situation where there were wounded bears on the board at the brink of death. It's possible that I'm thinking of an alchemy matchup where I'm just gonna slowly back out of this right here. But there was a situation where I thought Bone Talisman could have been a play there with the strengthening effect, because bringing these bears back is part of Tailbot's win condition here. And there he goes. He does actually go and hit the bear.
Interesting. Coleman is just, he has no other big target, and he has 3 ointments in hand. his hand overall is rather awkward.
Yeah, very awkward for round 1 here. Tailbot still hasn't played King Bran as well. It probably just isn't allowing him the tempo he would need here to really keep this in close contention here, but ultimately needing to play King Bran eventually.
I mean, I don't think Tailbot can go for a 16-point play at this point.
Not
So
at this
I would
point.
definitely expect King Bran being dropped down here to get Morkvark, Olgierd, and... But the thing is he playing around Azire? Because Azire can return Olgierd to the deck.
Of course, Fred.
It's possible.
Yeah, he's not sure about Olgierd. You saw how he stopped there for a second over Olgierd? He was debating it. He knows Azire can go down and deny it. I think he's really debating that. Because that can definitely be a detriment. But as long as he keeps... Because the thing is, if Tolemon denies the Olgierd, that's one proc that he takes away from Ceres. And that matters a lot.
It's interesting because Colemon's options are quite limited as well. It's possible we may just see that happen. Asir and Calvet being the most attractive plays right now for Colemon.
This is a very weird round. We do see triple Marauder potential from Tailbot, but not that great of a setup here. I mean, better than nothing, right? But this John Calvet definitely ends up working out really well for him, as it does enable him to thin 2 cards out of the deck. And we could see a follow-up onto Mandrake, as proactive use of Mandrake is way more likely in this matchup, as there's really nothing to hit, especially considering Tailbot is not playing light long ships. So we could see Colemon follow this up with Mandrake onto Calvet to work for that thick Calvet.
Do you think this might actually translate to a pass here from Tailbot, as he is really far behind at this point? He is holding Udoruk, but he's very far behind, and ultimately this would deny the potential of Mandrake, and there is that pass. So now Colemon unable to Mandrake Calvet, and there's not a lot of great options here. The Marauder is probably the best options, as they are going to be the big boosted units.
He also by doing with this pass, he denies Azire. Because now Olgierd will come onto the board every single turn, so Azire can no longer deny the Olgierd, which means that he'll get the double proc onto Ceres. But Ceres will not come out just yet. Ceres needs one more resurrection to happen. I need smoke. As we can see, one more countdown timer on Ceres on crate there. Triple Marauder, a Heme Spear Maiden, and Sigdrifa. He does have 2 different options, potentially 3 if he goes for Triss onto Reconnaissance.
Now, I think the Tailbot can maybe comfortably play Udalryk in this matchup because of how much, Triss is such an insane play. Triss can Bone Talisman out the Giant Bear and also trigger Ceres at the same time. Tailbot will have no problem getting back into this round if he opts to Udalryk at any time here.
The thing is, with Triss, he does like that card a lot as a finisher.
And yeah, exactly for that reason. That is a huge amount of points.
So you may want to preserve for round 3.
27 points. 27 points at this point.
Yeah, especially combined with Ceres right there. I really like this deck. It's not your standard bear deck. It really is. It's quite intriguing, especially the use of Ceres. Oh, that Mandrake onto the Olgierd. I like that a lot from Colemon.
Where's he going, Mogwai? Where does Olgierd go? To the Shadow Realm.
Oh, sorry. I'm not paying there.
To the Shadow Realm, Olgierd. Just trying to slow down. I mean, Colemon taking the role now to try to deny value in this situation. He did a really good job of it last time he went up against this deck when he was on the side of Skellige, when it was the Mirror. That was the matchup I was thinking of before, where we had the Wounded Bears in the Mirror. So now Tailbot just taking a quick peek at the graveyard, seeing what's possible here.
Tailbot really has to sequence here and ensure that he, there's no ensuring it. It depends on how far Colemon is willing to push, right? But he has to try his best to make sure that he can set up a Ceres onto round 3. So he has to be very selective with his resurrections here. We are going to see Sigdrifa though. So this is going to be a massive swing for Tailbot, and this is going to basically deny Colemon's ability to get that card back, and it's also very dangerous for Colemon to keep on pushing. Colemon has to be aware of the possibility of Tailbot having Udalryk, and Tailbot can go for Udalryk now, and unless Colemon has an 11-point swing here.
Look at this! Look at this! The question has been answered.
Oh, denied the Morkvark as well. making it no Ceres for you, but this is extremely low tempo play, and Tailbot can definitely afford to go for Odoric, but he has to not do that right now.
Oh, but how can you not take Odoric here?
Well, he may be expecting Coleman to have Cantrella in hand. That's the thing. We see his hand, but Tailbot does not. So in his mindset, he may not be feeling rushed to play the Odoric, right? And he may want to thin through his deck with the Heimei Spear Maiden before playing Odoric, which will potentially brick it as well. So I definitely like this Spear Maiden right here. Getting one of the Bear Masters out of the deck, so that that eases up the room a little bit for the Odoric here. The thing is, will Coleman pass? I mean, all this work towards the 9 Ceres will be for naught if he passes here, because he's not really well, he definitely is in life coach mode right now. Sure, he's super concentrated here. He's really debating. He wants to deny that Ceres, but he needs to push a little bit further in order for that to happen.
It was interesting. I was wondering if Tailbot at any point was considering playing Bone Talisman on to strengthen. You know what? I'm going to maybe not suggest that after all. I'm going to stop my sentence there. But I think that at this point, Tailbot is, I think that maybe holding back on Udalric or anticipating Cantarella is part of this, but I think at a certain point in this round here, as Coleman is pushing, there has to be maybe the inkling that Cantarella is not available to Coleman, because you'd think that it would be played sooner rather than later. Tailbot's in a really great position here,
I think at this point you can go for Udalric, right? Like, you'll still be ahead. Yes, your opponent can push, but it's not like you're overly vulnerable to getting bled here. Yeah, I like this Udalric. Yeah, he thins through the deck first with the Spear Maiden to make this more accurate, and he gets rewarded. That's Coral, baby, and Coral onto Udalric alone is a total of 16 points, which makes it very solid.
Worthwhile right away. Reconnaissance you can live without, of course. Triss can be that, but Triss is likely going to be a Bone Talisman in this situation.
Coleman has to 100% push here. He cannot pass now. He will lose this game. Oh man, Coleman is against the.
He's in a tough spot.
He's in a tough spot for sure, man. Tailbot. His passing game has been ridiculous.
You can feel the tension in the room. These players are not too far away from us at this point. The intensity, the tenacity.
Tailbot really looking to get that revenge. Coleman was able to take him down in the semifinals of the prior challenger. But right now, it seems like the tides have turned, and Tailbot is looking to get that 3-1 victory, unless Coleman is able to really work for a pressure game here. Runestone onto Van Himar for 15 points, I believe.
Yeah. Fragilla not going to be enough there. Treason definitely not worth it. So just going for the highest value potential there in the Runestone.
Yeah, but this empowers the Marauders though by 2 points as well. This is not really that bad for Tailbot at all. Right now there are 4 units on the board, and all of them empower the Marauders. So Marauders are 13 points. So a Marauder will enable Tailbot to get ahead by 1 point over Coleman, and thus keep him in the race. If Tailbot can keep that 2-card advantage over Coleman, that's all she wrote.
I mean, I don't really know how he can't. I mean, look at the power in Tailbot's hand. I mean, Coral alone is huge in a situation, in a matchup where it maybe isn't always all that great. Being able to take down Udalric right now, the Marauders are just going to get better and better over time. Here comes Coral, perhaps. Triss represents a lot of points as well. The Bone Talisman is maybe the only thing that is unfavorable for Tailbot, but at least he has things he can do with it in this situation
devastating here. You can see it in Coleman's face.
Just not being able to have access to Cantarella is really going to hurt him here. He's going to have to make a tough decision, and every card he spends makes this worse and worse.
He's forced to go here. He's forced to go here 100%. He has to.
There's Cantarella if he wants it.
Yeah, you go Cantarella here.
We'll
you go Cantarella and you take Safan's Skillen. That's, oh man, he really needed that. He loses here though for round 3, but at least he gets Safan's Skillen, which will provide him with 5 carryover strength.
Yeah, Asir's going to be able to put the Runestone or another alchemy card back into the deck for Vesemir to ultimately pull an extra strong Papa Vesemir with the buff from Stefan Skellen. At this point, Coleman can safely play all of these cards. Being able to develop the spy here is huge. This definitely makes this a little bit more likely that Coleman can push through this matchup, but Tailbot is still in a really good position.
That Restore looking to be a 19-point swing. Those Berserker Marauders representing a lot of points right now. The thing about what Tilbot needs to do at this point is just dump his weakest cards. That's what he has to go for. And we may be looking at a... I think he's saying goodbye to Ceres, though. Yeah, I think he's dropping the both. He knows he won't be able to have Ceres. Coleman has denied Ceres on crate, but I don't think that's as big of an issue. He's still preserving his biggest finishers here.
It's possible he feels like he maybe overvalued Ceres in the match that he lost. You didn't think that he did, and but it's possible that fighting for it, making that mulligan costing him huge from Tailbot's point of view, because he did ultimately. I think he ultimately really just lost out having that bricked protector. So just maybe not leaning too hard on Ceres. Ceres.
Well, he
does
has no
a lot of
option
work
at this
for
point.
it.
Like,
What's that?
Even if he would want to lean hard on it, like it's just Coleman has denied it.
It's long gone. It's long gone.
It's just completely denied here. Vesemir or Vogelforts? I think you take Vesemir. Yep. 11-point Vesemir is your best shot onto an Ointment, onto a Viper Witcher, perhaps. That's so strong, but even though that's strong, he's lost here. And Tilbot's going to preserve that one card over him, and Triss Telekinesis, which is a more threatening finisher than Olaf. 20-point Olaf, big boy bear.
Yeah, that 14-point bear is already looking pretty good.
Big girl bear now.
You beg for death.
We see Stefan Skellen right there, who has the ability to move any card in your deck to the top, and if it's a non-spy unit, you boost it by 5, so you get 5 carryover strength through it as well. It makes you draw exactly what you want, and it's also 5 points stronger, which is very, very impactful in a short round. But will it be enough when your opponent has one card over you, especially at this high level of play? I don't know.
It's pretty tough. 11-point Vesemir is pretty good, but it's just at this point, it's just with every card that Coleman spends, it feels less and less likely that he's going to be able to make up the points in round 3.
Tilbot, ruthless, absolutely ruthless in this set. He did drop. He won the first game, dropped the second game, but then that Alchemy Nilfgaard display was so good, and now he's shutting Alchemy Nilfgaard himself with his own variant of I'll call this Bear brand. And down goes the Viper Witcher throughout the Ointment onto the Berserker Marauder. But there's just no chance. Coleman has no chance to get that extra card back. Well, the extra, I think at this point, if you're Tilbot, you definitely just keep dropping your Marauders. You want to preserve your Restore and your Triss for the late game. That's a 19-point play, and that Triss can represent at least 20 points. And
here we go, folks. Round 3 here. Round 3 of Game 4 on this matchup here.
Comes down to this.
Potentially redemption time for Tailbot, as he's up against a very, very tough opponent in Coleman.
Oh, that Heim draw. That's so good.
Jeez, man. What else do you want from this hand? It's so good.
I don't know.
It's so good.
Just get rid of the Marauder.
He wants the Talisman, because that is a little bit better in a short round, potentially.
Definitely. Most definitely. Like you can res the 14-point bear.
And you act first, too. You don't have to worry about a Seer maybe making it go away, although that's kind of risky in its own right. But
and with Heim, okay, so Heim can target Joachim potentially, and he gets it 100%. Oh my God, Heim can go into Joachim here, and he knows you'll get it 100% because Heim does not include card advantage spies. So it'll be a choice between Azire, the Guardian, and Joachim, the Vet. He could Heim into Joachim.
And is there were 2 protectors played? I'm just thinking if Joachim pulls a protector with the Bone Talisman in Tailbot's hand, if that's actually not super good. But
we see one in the graveyard right there.
There is. Is it just the one?
If
it is just the one.
If it's just one, then it's not worth the risk. Definitely. Yeah. Good point. Good point. It's only one, so he will not. No, that's not a good play then. Oh, that feels bad, man. Oh, the Azire, though. The Azire denying the res right there. Very solid play by Coleman.
This is why I was thinking that maybe Triss with the Bone Talisman was maybe a better way to lead things off. It's not like that extra 3 points, I think, in this situation is going to make or break, but if we're looking for max value, I'm just wondering what Tailbot was worried about well, I mean, he could have played Restore and still played Triss in that situation, why he was maybe playing the Bearmaster first.
Hovering over Triss. Well, she's going for it now.
Yeah.
Let this become a second Sodom.
You could see a Machiavelli. That's 12 points.
You get the 12 points from the L, 11 points from the Talisman. or you risk going for the recon for even more. They're all pretty good options. I mean, he is going to go for the recon.
Onto the Freya. Nice.
Bow before modern Freya.
Which is
Bow
just...
for mod Freya. Sorry.
It was an 11 point... Well, wait, hold on. He's going to go... Well, the Protector, if he wanted to take Joachim... Oh, it is dead.
No!
It is.
Oh,
It's the two talismans that were played, not the two protectors that were played.
Oh my God! If that
was
will
a
that
big-
cost him?
That is
He has a significant lead though, but that Triss, we were talking about that Triss the entire match, and it ended up being a 9-point play.
Tailbot. Forgetting how many he played from hand
Not
right there.
like this. Okay, he still deletes.
He's still in a great. He still has
He's
a
still in
lot
a great
of points
position.
here.
I think he can afford. But that Vesemir is gonna be huge.
But the runestone didn't go back in for Vesemir. What is Vesemir playing at this point?
I think ointment, right?
It's the ointment.
Ointment onto Viper Witcher. Or yeah, I think. Oh man.
He has skill. He still has skill. Oh, he has
Yes,
lots
skill.
of-
Okay. This
he
is
could have played. He's gonna get maybe the 14-point bear.
Oh my God!
Never punished here,
22
Tailbot.
points. Okay, he's chilling it. He's okay.
He's chilling now. He's chilling. He's fine. He's fine. Just a moment there of, he had to. He may have to eat a few comments about that play, but ultimately he's going to do some smashing here.
Onto Ghoul.
The Ghoul's going to be fine, but I think ultimately this Talisman is going to make the difference here.
Talisman will
I could
represent a
be
total of into a Marauder. And we're going to see Ghoul represent 13 points here. And ladies and gentlemen,
Here we go.
Tailbot takes it.
Redemption.
Takes down Coleman in the rematch. Redemption indeed from... Oh no, he's actually going to just buff that. It's even more. Yeah.
No, it's a deck that has a lot of versatility. There's a lot of decisions that could be made.
Wow.
A lot of decisions that were made in that matchup. Just kind of like, a lot like a lot of the decks that we've seen brought here. A lot of options, a lot of ways to go. In the last round there, Tailbot, maybe forgetting
All
how
hail
many
the Tail
Tailsmen,
God.
but all hail the Tail God. Tail God taking down Coleman, advancing to the finals to take on Hannah-chan, which we will be getting into shortly. But man, what do you have to say about that matchup? Tailbot taking down Coleman's Hensalt with Alchemy had to be
On red.
That was the moment.
red.